Hello everyone and welcome to my video. Today I wanted to look at the skill trees for the different classes in Borderlands the pre-sequel. This is of course in anticipation for the game that's coming out this Tuesday, October 14th in the United States and October 17th in Europe. What I wanted to do was separate my videos into builds. Essentially have like defensive builds, offensive builds, and other builds. What I'm going to do is this first video is going to focus just on defensive builds for the four classes. And then later on, I'll release an offensive build for the four classes. After that, I'll release a special build that focuses on the action skills and playing with some skill-specific like some class-specific skills, which is like my special build, I guess. And also, lastly, I'll release a video that are my personal builds, that are builds that I'm gonna be using as I play the game. They're more like solo builds, focus on when you play by yourself, but I think they're pretty good also. So let's so today we're gonna look at defensive builds for Wilhelm, for Athena, for Claptrap, and also for Nisha. Now keep in mind that these skills can change. They're subject to, even though the game is pretty close to release, I don't think these skills are gonna change anymore. And that these builds are not final because they also depend on class mods that we get in the game. So we can essentially switch some skills up depending on how the class mods work. So these are not final. They're just they're also my own opinion. You guys can let me know what you think of it. If you have tips about which skills that you think would be better, or how you can build better defensive builds if you want, or better offensive builds, whatever you want, you can just tell me in the comments and I'll look at them. So starting with Nisha. Nisha is essentially like our damage dealer class, but we can also build her defensively. It focuses more on healing than having more health or more shields. So let's jump into it. So the first thing we're gonna get is of course our action skill, which is Showdown. So what it does is that it essentially gives us a aimbot. It aims for us automatically, and also gives us 42% more gun damage, 25% more fire rate, 125% reload speed, 15% accuracy, and 50% more bullet speed. And it lasts for 6 seconds, and the cooldown is 16 seconds. So that's pretty good. Now, also the gun damage doesn't work with sniper rifles and rocket launchers. That's something to keep in mind. The first skill tree we're going to go in is Riflewoman. So we're going to take a Bonafide Grip. It's a kill skill, so every time we kill an enemy, we get a critical hit damage of 35%, and we also regenerate 2% of our max health per second. Kill skills usually last 10 seconds, so that's about 20% of our max health that we can regenerate. Second skill is Unchain. Every time we shoot an enemy, we get a stack of Unchain. The maximum amount of stacks that we can get is 21, and we can only get 1 per second, but we also get a 5% fire rate increase per stack. So that's about a 105% increase in total. And the last skill we get is Fistful of Bullets. That just increases our magazine size with all gun types by 3. It's pretty good for rocket launchers and snipers, actually. Now we can go into Fan the Hammer, the Fan the Hammer skill tree. The first skill that we get is Settled Up. Again, another kill skill, which gives us 20% more movement speed and 25% more gun damage when we kill an enemy for 10 seconds, because kill skills last 10 seconds. This is I remember this from Borderlands 2, and from the videos I've seen on YouTube and stuff like that, the skills still seem to last 10 seconds. Of course, I'm gonna have to further test them once I get the game, but I'm pretty sure it's for 10 seconds, so pretty good. We can go for also Bottled Courage. So when we activate our action skill, which is Showdown, we get 50% back of our shields back. So immediately we get 50% of our shields back, and when our action skill is on cooldown, this allows us to have a recharge rate of plus 35% and a recharge delay of minus 35% on our shields. So it makes our shields very nice, very, very powerful. The next skill that we get is Short Fuse, another kill skill. And after killing an enemy, all of our shots deal bonus explosive damage. So 35% more weapon damage at explosive damage. It's a nice damage increase. And the last skill that we get here is Pickpocket. Our melee attack allows us to steal up to 6 bullets from our enemies and instantly load them into our gun. And there's a cooldown for this, and it doesn't work with rocket launchers, but it's a pretty nice way, to just get 6 bullets back, especially since we're going to be using a lot of law and order skills, which they rely on using our melee attack. So of course, the last skill tree that we get is Law and Order. This is really the tree that's most important if you're gonna build a defensive Nisha build. So the first skill that we can get is Order. So this skill is it's a very nice skill because every time we take 15% of our maximum health and damage, we gain a stack of Order. And based on the number of order stacks that we have a chance to instantly heal double the damage taken. And we also lose order stacks when we're not in combat. So if we're still in combat, order stacks are they're preserved, but if we leave combat, we lose them. So we have a 1.2% chance per order stack to heal, and the maximum amount of stacks that we have is 10. Now, once we finish this class completely, we'll have a total of 30 stacks that we can get. Like the max stack cap will be 30. So this will actually be 1% per 1.2% per order stack, but as for a maximum of 30 stacks, which is really, really nice. I think the maximum that we can get is 36%, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it's 36% chance to heal double damage taken. Roughly 1 out of 3 chance to do it, so that's pretty nice. The second skill that we get is Law. It increases our shield capacity and melee damage, so 20% shield capacity and 20% melee damage. Pretty nice. The next skill that we get is Rough Rider. It's a slam augment, so what it does is that it makes our slam deal 25% more damage, and when we deal damage with slam, we gain 5 order stacks per enemy damage. And this skill also raises our order stack by 5, so it's 15. Now, this is a very, very good skill if you plan on using melee damage, because as you'll see as you go down up to here, the order stacks that we have allow us to do more damage, and also it gives us more health regeneration. This is, again, pretty nice skill. And the other skill we get is Third Degree. When Showdown or Action skill ends, or when we kill an enemy, we gain increased damage with our next melee attack. This effect can stack up to 5 times, so it does plus 100% more damage per stack. Now, this is a crazy skill. This is really a crazy skill, because what happens is that you can stack this up to 5 times, and it does 100% per stack. What this means is that you can actually deal plus 500% of melee damage at 5 stacks, and they're pretty. As the way I see it, it's pretty easy to gain stacks, because if you kill an enemy or that your action skill ends, you gain a stack, and any kill that you make during your action skill gives you a stack also. So this is a this is a very powerful skill, I think, in my opinion. To allow if you're gonna use melee attacks a lot with Nisha. Now, the next skill that we pick is Discipline. When we reach 10 order stacks, our shields get restored to full. Again, this gives you great survivability, especially with something like Bottled Courage. They help each other out. They focus more on shields, and also while at 10 or more order stacks, we can improve melee damage, gun damage, and shield recharge delay for each order stack that we have. And this skill also raises our order stack by 5, which makes it 20, and we get 1.5% more melee damage per order stack, which is a 45% increase at max stack, 1% per order stack, 30% increase at max stack, shield recharge delay minus 1.5% per stack, minus 45% at max stack. If we couple this with the Bottled Courage, gives us a minus 80% shield recharge delay on our shields, again making Nisha very, very survivable. I mean, I can see these like just with any high capacity shield that has a high recharge delay on it, you can really bring down the delay on those shields quite nicely, so making her a lot more survivable. Now, the next skill is Blood of the Guilty. What this does is that it allows when we kill an enemy or an ally kills an enemy, we gain an order stack and also have 5% of our health restored, making her more survivable. And this also increases our order stack by 5, up to 25. And Jurisdiction, when we're using our action skill, it gives us more movement speed, 20%, and also regenerates 4% of our max health per second So for 6 seconds, it gives us a total of 24% of health regeneration. We can go next into Raring to Go, which is a kill skill, which is when we kill an enemy, it grants us a bonus reload speed and gun damage based on the number of order stacks we have. So it can give us up to a maximum of 60% reload speed and 60% gun damage. Pretty nice. And this is really the capstone skill that we want. This is one of the most powerful skills in the game, in my opinion. It's under Crackdown. It's a melee override skill. So our melee attack causes a large cone-shaped shock burst, dealing increased damage for each order stack. This skill also raises your order stack cap by 5, so up to 30. And the cooldown on it is 15 seconds, but it gives us plus 25% per order stack as shock damage. At maximum order stack, which is 30, it gives us about 750% more melee damage as shock damage. And remember, this is in a cone-shaped attack, so it has a pretty nice range to it, and it's a pretty nice. It's in a cone shape, so you can deal damage not to one single target, but to multiple targets. You can deal 750% more damage like that. And if you couple this with the third degree, with law, and also with discipline, I believe that the maximum amount of damage that you can deal is 1,315% more melee damage with Nisha, and this is in a defensive build. So, this makes her not only survivable, but also a high dealing surviving tank, which is pretty good. And that's it for Nisha. Now let's go into the Claptrap skill tree. Here, Claptrap is more of a... So Nisha is more of a damaging tank. Claptrap is more of a support healer tank, in my opinion. The first skill that we get is the Vault-A-Hunter.exe. What this does is that it loads an action package we can get from our skills, and it also restores us to full health, and gives us 2.5% of health regeneration per second. Pretty nice. And the cooldown is 40 seconds. Now the first skill tree that we go into is Boom Trap. Killbot, which is a kill skill. When we kill an enemy, it restores health, but to the detriment of shields. It restores up to 35% of our max health, but costs up to 10% of our max shields. It's pretty good, especially if we're gonna focus on health. Next skill we get is Repulsive. Every time an enemy hits us, with a melee damage, we emit a powerful blast wave that pushes away enemies and deals explosive damage, and it has a cooldown of 5 seconds. Pretty good for control. The next one is Second Wind by TDR. When we enter Fight for Your Life, we throw a copy of ourselves, which explodes like a grenade, and we continually emit explosive novas. Pretty good to help you in Fight for Life. Also, this build is going to focus more on going down and getting second wins, especially with this skill, which is Best Blood for Life. Whenever we revive someone, you and your buddy gain health regeneration and damage reduction for a short time. Also extends Fight for Your Life and increases weapon damage while down. So it gives us 25% more downtime, 25% more down gun damage, gives us 35% damage resistance, pretty good, and a 2.5% max health regeneration per second. And I'm guessing this lasts maybe 10 seconds like the kill skills. I know that's something that I have to test when the game comes out. Next skill we get is Maniacal Laughter. Increases satisfaction chance, so a 20% increase in satisfaction chance, and also regenerates up to 0.15% chance of our max health per stack per second. The maximum amount of size is 200, and we get stacks every time we apply a status effect damage to an enemy. So we get stacks of Maniacal Laughter, which gives us more health generation. Next skill that we go into is Kill Him while he's down. So while we're in Fight for Life, again, they coalesce well, these skills, and with this skill also. While in Fight for Your Life, we draw aggro from nearby enemies, and it also unlocks an action package, which is Clap in the Box. Clap in the Box is we construct a giant bomb that hurts everything around it. Again, it goes well with the Second Wind skill. Next skill that we get is All the Things Are Awesome. This is just an all-around pretty good skill. Increases fire rate by 15%, weapon swap speed by 15%. Gives us more max health, 25% more max health, and every teammate that we have gives us a plus 5% fire rate, plus 5% weapon swap speed, and plus 10% max health. So if we have 3 other teammates, it gives us 55% max health. Again, pretty good survivable skill. And we also get 2 skills here. This is just, because I didn't find any other skills. I mean, these 2 points you can spend anywhere you want, really. It doesn't really matter where you want to choose them. You can spend them here if you want, here. It just depends on your preference. So this is not necessary, but I choose it because it gives us a cooldown rate, 10% cooldown rate. So just to be able to use the vault.exe more. Next skill that we get is You're Going to Love Me. Killing an enemy creates a friendship nova, centered on the enemy, that heals us and our friends. And so that's pretty good. Also unlocks the action package Gun Wizard, which makes us and all of our allies gain more fire rate and reload speed. Pretty nice spell. Pretty nice skill. And the next skill we get is a trap card. When our shields become depleted, we release a Mega Nova centered on ourselves that heals us and our friends. And it also hurts enemies. So pretty good. But our shields must fully recharge between Mega Novas, so it heals up to 15% of our max health. Again, Claptrap is a pretty good character that focuses more on a lot of healing. So if you want to heal yourself and your friends, Claptrap is a pretty good character to choose. Wax on, wax off. Wax off once wax on. Improves your shield capacity by 15%. Recharge rate 15%. And recharge delay by minus 13%. Pretty nice skill for it to be able to survive more. Pain Simulator is painful, indeed it is. Increases your max health and grants a small amount of damage reduction. Max health plus 30, not plus 30%, just plus 30. That's I don't know if that's a typo. I doubt that it is, because having a plus 30% again, which with all the things are awesome, I think that would probably be too much. So I think that's a plus 30, just plus 30. I don't think it's a typo. And a damage reduction of plus 20%, which is pretty nice. Organized guns or happy guns, so it increases magazine size by 25% and gives our teammates more magazine size, plus 10%, pretty nice. And this is the capstone skill that we want, high five guys. So when we can request a high five, and if we successfully get a high five from our friends, us and our friends get plus 15% gun damage and plus 50% fire rate, and also health regeneration, plus 3% max health per second. It also has a cooldown, but even if our friends don't decide to give us a high five, we get it for ourselves. So that's pretty nice. And yeah, that's it for Claptrap. Again, Claptrap is more of a healer thing than a tank character per se, and Nisha is more of a damaging thing. Now Athena, which is one of my favorite characters in the game, especially playing as a tank. I think she's more suitable as a support tank and more as a control tank. That's basically what it is. So the first skill that we get is also, of course, the action skill, which is kinetic abscess, which gives us a defensive arc of 90 degrees, which absorbs all frontal damage. Pretty nice. And once the cooldown ends, or we can decide to, once the duration ends, or we can decide to throw it ourselves, it gives damage to the enemy that it hits. It gives double the sort of amount of energy. We gain energy by getting more damage on it. So the more damage we get on our kinetic abscess, it absorbs it, and when we release it, it gives double that damage to any enemy it hits, which is pretty nice. So the first place we're gonna go, well, Phalanx is really the skill tree for a defensive build. But I decided to go with Phalanx and Syphos to get some regeneration, some health regeneration. It's pretty nice. So let's start with the Syphos skill tree here. The first skill we get is Clarity of Purpose. Increases melee damage and maximum health. That is pretty nice. Plus 25% melee damage and plus 15% maximum health. I went with Gun Kata to give us 1 point in it. It's not necessary. You can put it here or anywhere else, but I just wanted some gun damage. It's pretty nice. Again, this is not something that you need to choose. You can go anywhere. So maybe Maelstrom would be pretty good also, but I just decided to go with it. Omega Senshu, which gives increased damage to any enemy who has less. Well, actually, no, you need it to get the Syphos, so you need 1 point. You can spend it anywhere in this tree, but you can't spend it anywhere in other trees to get the Syphos. If you don't want this, then you don't need to. You have 2 points that you can spend anywhere else, but I decided to go like this because I liked it. We can go with Omega Senshu here. It gives increased damage against enemies who has less than 50% of their maximum health remaining. 21% increased damage, pretty nice. Mercurial, which is a kill skill, which gives us 20% more movement speed and 20% more damage resistance. Again, lasts for 10 seconds because it's a kill skill. Rend, or melee attacks now cause enemies to bleed over time, and the duration of the bleed is 12 seconds, and it deals up to 100% bonus damage against targets with high health. So for the 12 seconds, it will deal 100% of bonus damage. Pretty nice, of melee damage, of course. We can get Epicenter, which is again one of the control skills of Athena. I think this goes well with the Phalanx tree. If you're gonna build a defensive tank Athena that you want to help your allies with, what it does is that when we slam, it creates a singularity that pulls all enemies closer to us and deals damage to them. The damage isn't necessary; it's just for the control. If someone is attacking Nisha or Claptrap and they're low in health, you can just use Epicenter to just pull them towards you. The next one we get is Bloodlust, which is a health regeneration. We get health regeneration for every enemy that bleeds for the duration of the bleed effect. So what this does is that it gives us it gives us 4% of max health per second per bleeding enemy. So for 12 seconds, we get 4% of max health for every enemy that bleeds. A pretty nice regeneration skill. And last one is Blood Rush, which is a melee override skill. So it allows us to dash towards an enemy and strike them with Siphos with increased melee damage, 40% more. And also, if we kill an enemy, well, if this attack applies a bleed damage to a target that isn't bleeding or kills a target, the cooldown is immediately reset. So it's pretty nice. It's a very nice skill. Again, it's more for control, because if you're pretty far away from a target that's harassing one of your friends, you can immediately dash towards him and attack him and maybe pull the aggro on you, because again, you want to be a tank and you have more control with Nisha. Now the next skill tree that we go into is Phalanx, which is really the defensive skill tree. First skill that we get is Iphodos, which is increased movement speed, 20% more, and increased gun damage, 20% more, when we hold the Apsis, which is pretty good because we're going to be using this skill a lot, especially with the low cooldown that it has. The next one is Vanguard. While the Apsis is active, you and your nearby friends gain health regeneration. The health regeneration rate increases as the Apsis absorbs damage, so pretty good for health regeneration. I don't really know, they don't really say how much it is, but I'm guessing it's a pretty good amount, I guess. And hold the line, I just put 1 point in here. Again, you can choose anywhere to put it. If you want Invictus or Written Fire, you can even put it in other skill trees. I just decided to use it for to get more duration, just because I thought it would be pretty good. We can get a Prismatic Aegis. It allows us to store the elemental damage type of the absorbed damage. So we can stack also multiple elemental damage types. And when we throw the Apsis, it gives back that elemental damage, which is pretty nice. Just slightly more damage, And the next skill is Clear. When we throw the Apsis, the explosion grants second wind to a friend within range. In addition, we get a bonus damage while in Fight for Life. The bonus damage isn't necessary. It's just that if we can, if one of your friends is down, you can immediately revive him by throwing the Apsis. This works well with the defensive Claptrap tree that we just made. It goes well with all these skills. So having like a Claptrap, defensive Claptrap, and a defensive Athena, they both coalesce very well. With this with Clear, pretty nice. Now we can use United Front again. It allows damage absorbed by the Apsis now provides power to the shields of you and your nearby friends. Also increases your maximum shield capacity by 20% and converts 25% of absorbed damage into shield power. Very, very nice for being more survivable again. If our shields are down, we can just pop the Apsis and then recover our shields. And if our friends are dying also, we can just pop it. Stalwart allows the Apsis to absorb a percent of damage from your friend's gun. Also increases your maximum health, 25% more. And if we need to heal, our friend just can shoot our Apsis shield and give us more health. Pretty nice. And this is also a skill that's very, very nice here. I didn't choose to go more into it because I didn't think it was necessary. I mean, you can put this point in here if you want more gun damage while while enemies are attacking you. But what this skill does is that activating the Apsis taunts nearby enemies, making them more likely to attack you. Additionally, for every individual enemy who inflicts damage on your Apsis, you gain a stack of Prepare for Glory, increasing your gun damage. Stacks persist for a short duration after the Apsis has been thrown. This is a pretty good skill for control. So, if your friends are getting hammered by other enemies, you can just pop the Apsis, and they'll come trying to fight you, which is pretty good. It goes well with the other skills that we have, making the Apsis more powerful when we hold it. And, again, being able to taunt enemies to make them come towards you is vital for a tank, I think, especially if your friends are pretty low on health. So this does that. And last skill is the capstone that we get is the Wrath of the Goddess, which allows the Apsis to ricochet up to 4 additional enemies, and each takes less damage than the last. They take 32% less damage every time it ricochets. Now this is not unnecessary. Like, this is not a skill that is necessary for this build. I just decided to pick it because, well, I thought it would be nice to be able to make your Apsis ricochet around on enemies. You can also go with Return Fire, which is pretty nice. When enemies attack you, you get a plus 10% reflect chance. Up to 5, it goes to up to 50%, which is pretty nice for a tank, if you want to invest in that. So that's Athena, defensive build. Her build is, again, more centered like more of a support tank. She has more control. She has a lot of survivability still, but is also able to get aggro on her, control enemies a lot more. It's more like a battlefield control for Athena, which makes her a pretty good tank. I think she's second to only Wilhelm tank wise. And of course, we go to Wilhelm, which is the defensive build for Wilhelm. In my opinion, for defensive builds, Wilhelm wins, like as a tank, but he wins more in the sense of being more survivable. He has less link control than Athena, so depending on what you want, if you want more control with a tank, you would go with Athena. If you want more survivability, just straight up survivability, you go with Wilhelm. He is definitely, like, using this build, he's definitely harder to kill. Like, he's a lot harder to kill. Like, he's really hard to kill. So for his skills, I decided to go. We also get the action skill within Saint. What this allows us to do is that when we activate it, it summons 2 drones, Wolf and Saint. Wolf is more of a damage drone. Will fly around, has a shield and health, and will deal damage to enemies. And Saint, which allows us. What Saint does is that he regenerates 2.5% of our max health per second for 35 seconds, which is pretty nice. Of course, we can increase the duration of it, so not just 35 seconds. Now we'll go into Cyber Commando. For the only reason I went into Cyber Commando is to get Divert Power. That's a pretty good survival skill. So the first skill we get is Man and Machine. Increases shield capacity by 15% and maximum health by 50%. Also increases Wolf and shield's capacity by 25% and Wolf's maximum health by 25%. Pretty nice for Wolf, but what we want more is for the shield capacity for us and maximum health for us. Targeting scope. Here, I decided to go with targeting scope. I mean, you can really go into laser focus 5 points or first to fight 5 points or just spread them around. You just need 5 points to get to the next group of skills. But I guess I decided to go with this because it's a nice skill. Gives us 50% more critical damage and 25% more accuracy. Pretty nice. Power Fist, which is a melee override, allows us to perform explosive punch with extended range. It has a 12 seconds cooldown. The reason I chose this one, it gives us a little bit more control. So like if if a bunch of enemies are surrounding us, we can just punch one and then try to get out or move a little bit more. I think this gives Wilhelm a little bit more control. And the next skill is Divert Power. When her shields are depleted and health is low, it has a 30% health threshold. Taking any damage that we take causes us to gain massive shield regeneration and damage resistance for a few seconds. So it recharges 100% of our shield and gives us 83.3% damage resistance for 3 seconds. This is pretty nice. If we're in danger of dying, we can just use this, and it just refills our shields completely and gives us a lot of damage resistance. Again, playing into his survivability. Now, the Dreadnought class is really the class that allows Wilhelm to be very survivable. The first skill that we get is Fortify, which increases our maximum health by 15%, Wolf's maximum health by 15%, and gives us 20% gun damage while Saint is active. So, for about 35 seconds, we get 20%. Well, more than 35 seconds. For 45 seconds with this skill, we get 20% gun damage. Pretty nice, being able to deal extra damage. But remember, this is a defensive build, so we don't really need the gun damage. Auxiliary tanks, which gives us 10% more, 10 seconds more action skill duration. So this becomes 45, and reduces the cooldown rate by 15%. Pretty nice. Here we can go with heat sinks. Improves his shield recharge rate and shield recharge delay. This bonus is doubled whilst Wolf and Saint on cooldown. So 30% recharge rate and minus 70% recharge delay while the action skill is active. And while it's on cooldown, it becomes 60% recharge rate and minus 34% recharge delay. Really nice to be survivable, like especially for your shields. It's a really good skill. I only put one in here because I don't really know what occasionally means. Like it might be, if it's pretty frequent, I would probably suggest investing into it. But since I don't know and I don't have the game yet to test it, I just put 1 point just in case. And the regeneration we don't really need because with this skill we're gonna get all the regeneration that we need. I don't think the skill is very necessary. I mean, you can go into it, like replace heat sinks for it, but that's just my opinion. I prefer heat sinks. Next skill I get is 0 Hour. It's a Saint ability, and when Saint is recalled or expires, he explodes, deploying a healing zone underneath you. You and your friends regenerate health while standing in the zone. This is a pretty nice skill because what it does is that for 12 seconds, we regenerate 8% of our max health per second. So 96% of our max health in 12 seconds is very nice. That's a lot of regeneration, and it's not only for us, it's also for our friends. So, you know, nice little supporting skill there, and nice little regeneration for health when we recall Saint or when they expire. It's pretty nice. And we get into the hazmat containment system. If we have incendiary, shock, or corrosive status effect on us, and us and our friends gain increased resistance to that element. Additionally, you will occasionally spread that status effect to nearby enemies while it's active. So it gives us 50% elemental resistance. This is a very nice support skill and also a very nice survivability skill. If you're fighting anything that deals, fire damage or anything like that, you're essentially like a lot more survivable against that element, and you and your friends, which is pretty nice. I decided to go 4-4 here because kinetic armor increases our maximum health for 4 points. It increases by 20%, and also allows us to do explosive feedback. So when we have when close range attacks hit us, we have a chance to activate explosive feedback, which just pushes enemies out and deals damage to them, which is pretty nice. And hard to kill, whenever we are shot or struck by an enemy, we gain a stack of hard to kill, which reduces all damage received. And the stacks are removed after a few seconds of taking damage. I think it's also 10 seconds, so it's pretty nice. We get a 0.4% per stack for a maximum of 100 stacks. So for a maximum of 40% damage reduction. Makes us very hard to kill, as it says. And the last skill that we get is Overcharge, which is a Saint ability. So immediately after being summoned, Saint will release an energy wave that will overcharge you and any nearby friends for a short duration. Overcharged players gain increased movement speed, fire rate, reload speed, and ammo regeneration. So it gives us a plus 15% movement speed, plus 75% reload speed, plus 75% fire rate, and plus 10 ammo regeneration. It lasts for 10 seconds. This is a very nice skill for yourself and for supporting your friends, especially like if you want to support a Nisha build that's offensive. Giving her that 75% fire rate will just make her very, very powerful, and also 10 ammo regeneration is pretty nice. So again, this skill is not necessarily more survivable, but it's very it's a good support skill, especially for a tank. Especially for a tank, you want to be able to support other characters. So those are my defensive builds for all 4 characters. In my opinion, Wilhelm is the best defensive character in the game. Athena is second best, Claptrap is third, and Nisha is last. As defensive builds, of course. Wilhelm is more of a solo survival class, so he can really survive. Like he's essentially hard to kill. He's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. Athena is more of a support control tank. Also, if you want to be able to taunt enemies, get enemies close to you, make them leave your friends alone. Athena would be who you go for. Claptrap is more of a healer tank. So if you want a lot of health regeneration, if you want to heal your friends a lot, if they're taking damage and stuff like that, and also support them, you can go for Claptrap. And Nisha is more of a damage dealing tank. While she has a lot of regeneration, she doesn't have a lot of health or shields. So like she doesn't have anything that she doesn't really have a lot of things that increase the capacity of them. But she does regenerate a lot of health. Not as much as the other classes, but a pretty good amount. But she deals a lot of damage, especially with this class with her whip. So it makes her more of a damaging thing, which is pretty nice also. So you have different ways that you can build. You can play the 4 classes even if you're on a defensive build. Yeah, so that was the first series of defensive builds. Next time we'll release offensive build for all 4 classes. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. If you have any tips or tricks that you want to give me, any comments that you have about the builds, any skill that you think would be better, any comments that you'd like to make about the builds, anything that you'd like to say, if you prefer to have like this skill compared to another skill or whatever, you can just let me know in the comments. Also, I'll be linking a link. I'll be giving a link in the description to a forum page that displays the stats for all of the characters and for these the specific builds. I'm gonna be I'm putting the actual values and stuff like that. So yeah. So thanks for watching again, and I'll see you next time.